Alright, let's go ahead and get this started then. Welcome, crawlers. I'm Tubi, of course. Today I've decided to go ahead and try to model a contest art for the recent Cave Crawlers contest for the new biome, the Endless Tunnels. I decided that I want to go for something a little bit more natural instead of supernatural, because a lot of the posts aim toward a supernatural design that, frankly, I'm not much with. I wanted to fit a little bit closer to the game feel, as I would already say. So I decided to just go with a big old honkin' spider, because I like spiders. They're pretty cool, and what better thing than a spider scampering down a small hallway to eat you than one big old honkin' one that I'm about to make myself. Now, a little background here. This is the second time that I've done modeling with 3D voxels. The first one was making a pair of trinkets, 3D models for some of the trinkets that would apply to the dwarf model, but that was probably back in October of 2024, and since then I haven't touched Magica Voxel, so it was definitely an interesting process to try to get back to working with Magica Voxel again, but it was still pleasant nonetheless. You'll see as I go through these recordings of occasional pausings and stoppings as I just try to figure out what the hell is going on. And doing a bunch of different methods that probably just aren't even necessary, but I don't know a way around them, so I did what I could just to make things work. So it is what it is. A little smiley face there. I tried to make each of these piece by piece, so that way they'd be movable in an animator if necessary. So I have the abdomen and everything else that is kind of split up into multiple pieces that would hopefully kind of make things easier on the animation end, so I don't have to split things up later. The small problem with doing this is that you can't always build off of other parts of your model, at least from how I knew it. Like I said, it's been a while since I've worked with any of these, so that's how it was. On multiple parts throughout this video, you'll see that I'll copy the entire body part of another piece into a new model just so I can build off of it and delete it later. Which is the same reason why you'll see me color things in weird colors as the video goes on. Whether I make things, I usually did a bright white or a very noticeable color instead, so I could build from there. But anyway, while I have you beloved crawlers here, I really appreciate all the fun crawling times I've had recently, really. I haven't had a great amount of time to start crawling in some caves and doing any type of caves crawlers most of this spring semester coming forth with all my work, but it's all paid off. Pretty happy now. I'll be starting up another one here soon enough, so life goes on. This is one of the instances I talked about here of me coloring and importing an entirely new model. I put the eyes on here, and then I later on try to separate them later because I don't know if they're going to be moving on a body or not, given that I ever animate them. Now, I know nothing about animation, really. I've taken animation classes back when I was in high school. It's been several years since then, so I mean, even then when I was in there, I didn't do very wonderfully. I didn't know what the hell was going on, but it is what it is. One of the things you'll see me do as I go through here is trying to get eye placement just where it needs to be in the coloration. I was pretty unsure about how I wanted to do the eye colors when I was doing this. I did have one crawler in the Discord that was kind of pushing me to make things purple, but at the time I wanted to kind of stick with a red because the current models in-game were red. Now, as we move on to the lovely almost fangs, you'll notice, man, I take an egregious amount of time to try to figure these out. Multiple times throughout the design process, I was really contemplating whether or not I was accidentally making a big ant, or if I was actually making a spider, because you'll notice that these fangs are really pronged over, and it kind of looks like it's just some horsefly or something at the time. The similar things you'll see with the legs that I make later kind of look like a cricket's at first, and I have to remodel them. I tried with a black color here because, contrary to what some people seem to think, spiders' quote-unquote fangs are not actually that entire thing that you see there. It's really just only what's at the bottom. So I kind of wanted to stay true to that, but later on I figured out that, you know, it's a spooky fictional model. I don't care. I'm gonna give it big old fangs, and they're gonna be white teeth that are bloody. So I kind of threw that out the window. Here are the cricket legs I was talking about. I felt like they curved back around the body just a very weird way, that I had to come back and fix them later. Along with this and the joy of magic of Voxel, as you'll see me kind of struggle with mirroring. For whatever reason, the way that Magic of Voxel handles their mirroring through X, Y, and Z is it only works from the right-hand side of the main model when you're doing Y mirroring. So if you are selecting something on the left side and there's nothing else on the right side and you try to do a Y mirror, it will just delete it. So that was fun to learn. Obviously I could undo, but I ended up just ultimately only modeling most of the stuff on the right side, and then going from there, trying to figure out what I had to do. But it worked out in the end. I was able to mirror things pretty effectively back and forth. I really tried to have the legs try to be reused. So the middle two legs are the same model, and the front and back legs are the same model as well. Reduces things under the circumstances that it is ever implemented somewhere to reuse those assets, since they really don't need to be that different from one another, especially when you're dealing with voxel models. So, and then there you go. Now you can see the dwarf there and me turning him sideways. At this time I was streaming over in the Discord for a couple individuals to kind of see the process as I was working. My imagination for this model would be that it would be coming down those endless tunnels in a very wall climbing style, because you know it's going to be too small for it to just crawl straight through. So I imported the dwarf model that I had to copy model off of back when I did the trinkets, and try to get some ideas there, but I ended up sizing it a lot differently later down the line. Here when I'm making with the pedipalps, which are not another set of fangs or another set of legs. If you're unfamiliar with funny spider anatomy, those are essentially little feelers. Not quite antenna, but you know. I got multiple questions about the spinnerets too. Spiders have spinnerets. This is for the webs. This is not for egg laying of any sort. This is just to build webs and wrap things up in silk. And in this case, it'll be to make our poor Thesnid crawler here a pile of spider web. So it is not a female spider in any specific sense. I did think about making more of a mother spider design, but I figured that the whole matriarch, as practically every single game calls the mother spider the matriarch, was just too cliche, and I didn't want to lean into that. And I figured that if we had a different model down the line for an elite enemy in game, that it could probably go ahead and be a that could be the mother spider or something, summoning mini spiders in the fight. You know, the typical spider boss stuff. Additionally, when I'm doing the texturing here, I really don't have any experience with texturing 3D models at all. About all the texturing that I did with the 3D models that I did were based off of already pre-existing in-game items. So all I had to do was copy the color palette over and work with those. So I mean, that wasn't really a big deal, but I made do with what I could. Now over here I'm modeling and trying to copy all the individual body parts. Like I said, I made them all small and break apart so that way they could be animated. But after I figured out that I wanted to upscale the spider, I would have to go through each of those and upscale them twice. So I ended up copying them all into one model so I can change it all at once, and there's that result there. I think the size worked out pretty well. I mean, it's larger than Thesnid there, but it worked how it is. In case I haven't specified, which I haven't, his name is Andrew. You should respect him as such. I named him Andrew specifically based off of the spider that I initially got the inspiration to model him off of. It's an orb weaver, and it's the Andrusi. And I was like, you know, I think his name needs to be Andrew, and thus his name was Andrew. Here I'm doing the exact same thing that I did with the spider, but with a dwarf, because I had to copy and paste that thing like 3 times later on, so I kind of shambled them together. so that way he could be eaten and wrapped up here. But it's a fun process to make overall. I was very happy to be able to participate. If you all haven't seen any of my other sprite works, I'm usually doing sprite stuff and not trinkets. I didn't record my trinket process, but you can see some other stuff I did, like finishing off the Eldritch weapon set for the game, and also doing some potion sprites. I've got a laundry list of other things that I want to do in the future that I'm probably going to figure out here sooner or later with a couple days I have free coming up, so that may happen. Here's a couple of the silk designs here, and wrapped up on what I imagine the spider would leave behind when he instantly kills you in the hallways, as described. I wasn't sure if I wanted it to be like a comically silk-wrapped dwarf like that, or if I wanted it to be an egg sac. I kind of figured that the egg sac would be too large for the tunnels to be reasonable, so a dead dwarf like that would make more sense. As I move forward a little bit extra my time, I ended up deciding that I wanted to make a little trinket to go across with this submission. So specifically, it is a trinket that spawns a little tiny baby spider to fight alongside with you and inflict a DOT poison effect. So here I am trying to model what is an egg sac with what little texturing abilities that I have, and trying to figure out exactly what I want to do. But I think ultimately the whole turned out pretty well, aside from this part here. And then that worked out a little better there. The spider itself, the mini spider that I made, I wanted to originally base off an orb weaver, or a different orb weaver with a larger abdomen, but I think that I didn't want to just make it too distinct from what was supposed to be the father, the larger spider, so I ended up just making him a tiny little baby version and leaned pretty heavily into the eyes. I wanted the eyes to be very prominent on this model when I made him. As you'll see here, that eyes is nearly the first thing that I put on there, just so I could model the whole model around the eyes and try to figure out how I wanted things to look, because my whole purpose is to have a cute little tiny baby spider to follow you, and I want you to be able to look at him and be like, man, those are some big googly eyes, I love this man. And frankly, I do. While his father is named Andrew, I never did name this guy. You know, someone else can name him. I'm sorry, I can't do it. But I modeled him extremely quickly, and all things considered, I'm pretty happy with the result that came out. I guess after doing the larger version, the smaller version was not that bad. You'll see I put some texturing in with that green venom for the fangs there. I kind of decided I'd take some colors off of the Vial of Venom trinket that's already in game, and kind of give the Vial of Venom an explanation for what it is as a trinket, that it's actually spider venom. What do you know? But it wrapped up pretty quick, and I changed a bunch on the colorations and just decided to go for a darker color. So like I said, it was a very fun process to do. I'm pretty happy about all this, and I figured for this video specifically, I'd at least be able to try to do a extended voiceover where I just stare and watch at my own video and talk over it, because I don't have anything better to do at 4:30 in the morning. So I hope you all enjoyed this. I may end up doing a little more like this, documenting process further. I've actually had a couple people approach and talk to me believing that I'm a developer, which for the record, I am not a developer of Cave Crawlers. All credits to Lord Spongy and Lord Spartan. They are doing wonderful work with this game. I am just a dedicated crawler who is very interested about the future of this game. And I hope you all will also become dedicated crawlers, but I'll see you around. Thank you.